Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Salam Media with myself, Salailo Makwidiri. And this past hour of news and views was sponsored by Africa Muslims Agency. Africa Muslims Agency, a beacon of hope to communities for over 35 years in Africa and beyond. And with that being said, I think we can finally say the Euros have started. I think for the longest time we've been searching and looking for the kinds of matches in this year's Euros tournament that resembled what we saw yesterday. Pretty impressive game, and we are now almost into the finals because yesterday we saw Spain, La Furia Roja, beating Le Bleu France 2-1 in what was a really good match, according to me. A masterclass from the Spanish when taking on France, who have been lukewarm, man, coming into this tournament. There were such big expectations, but yeah, they didn't quite crack it into the finals. And to chat to us about that is football journalist Lenn Moleko, who's joining us via StreamYard. Lenn, thank you so much for joining us. I think you might have heard in my intro there, and I'm sure you will agree. It's been quite a lukewarm tournament, and I think in the latter stages, in the business end of things, we are now starting to see the best of European football and what it has to offer. Spain yesterday pulling off, in my opinion, a masterclass against France, starving them off the ball after scoring those two goals, making sure that they're not going head to head. Lamine Yamal dazzling, as a 16-year-old, his last time playing as a 16-year-old. Reintroducing himself into the international stage. What did you make of that match and the Euros so far?
Yeah, good morning, Silailo. Yeah, the Euros have been a bit lackluster. Not really a game that one can point to and say this is a match that stands out. Apart from there was a match, I think it was Turkey and Georgia, and
Yeah.
those are minor countries in the European setup where football is involved. So you would have thought the likes of your Germany would have lit up the tournament. England, high expectations were unto them going into the tournament. They haven't really done that. Even Spain, in as much as they've been impressive and they've been the most consistent team, we haven't really seen a masterclass performance from Spain. And we can say the same for the Netherlands. So it has been somewhat of a disappointing Euros. However, like you mentioned, the game yesterday between France and Spain was a match of two tacticians who wanted to see how to exploit the other one. And unfortunately, at two moments of not switching on, that's where Spain took advantage. And the first goal went in through Lamine Yamal, the 16-year-old. And to have the guts to actually take a shot like that at
That
16
that
years
was
old.
brilliant. That was beautiful. I mean, curler, top corner, at 16. I mean, no nerves at all. Just it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I know a lot of people will say, Jude Bellingham's 90th minute bicycle kick, might be goal of the tournament, but for me, Yamal's goal yesterday was top notch. I think top order stuff.
And the moment that he scored that goal
Yeah.
and the stage as well, yes, we can argue about Jude Bellingham's overhead bicycle kick, a beautiful goal nonetheless. It did also assist England, but it was in a group stage match where we can argue that England had already qualified.
Mm.
Um, so the significance of it was either whether they were going to finish first, second, or third, and who they're going to play in the last 16. However, this is in a semi-final of a Euro against a team who has been very consistent over the past four big tournaments. In the previous Euros, I think they reached the semis, if I'm not mistaken, and got knocked out by England. In the previous World Cup, they went all the way to the final. In the World Cup in 2018, they went all the way to win it. So this is not a fly-by-night French side. And this is a French side that is boasting big talent, Champions League winners, the likes of your Kamavinga was part of the team. Chouameni was part of the team. You've got a player who has been the talk of the town about his move to Real Madrid in Kylian Mbappe. He was part of the team. However, if you look at the Spanish team, you couldn't really point to one player and say Here is a superstar. And on the night, one Lamine Yamal said, I'm the superstar. And he did what he did with nerves of steel. And from a consistency point of view, Spain deserved to be in the final.
I want us to, come back to France. I think it's going to be a tournament where they'll look at it with a lot of disappointment. I think, going to this competition, looking at their track record, obviously, when it comes to big tournaments and just how many big names that they have in their squad. Yeah. I think throughout the tournament, Kylian Mbappe only one goal through a penalty. Not quite lighting up the stage. The big names not coming to the fore. Expectations were high for France, and I think they're going to feel a bit disappointed going to this. What do you make of them overall?
France has, yeah, like you said, they were not really impressing. I mean, getting to the semifinals, their first goal in open play was the opening goal that they scored against
Yeah.
Spain. So that has to tell you a lot. A bulk of their goals either came from spot kicks or penalties or going to a shootout. Um, haven't really taken the tournament by the scruff of the neck. They were not the France that we know. Kylian Mbappe was not as impressive as a lot of people thought he would be. I think he was one of those big names that almost went hiding in this tournament that we did not see. There's a number of those that we can mention. Um, but he formed part of those that didn't really light up the tournament. I feel for me the one player who stood out for France the entire tournament was N'Golo Kante.
Mm,
To a degree, William Saliba as well in defense. But outside of those two, and having those names as the names that stand out for a team that's going for a title, especially a title that involves knockout. If it was league football and you had N'Golo Kante and William Saliba as your star or key players, it makes sense because defenses win you league titles.
mm,
But this is a tournament. It requires knockouts at some point. It requires goals. So if Mbappe is not shining, Dembele has been absent the entire tournament. Um, Griezmann comes in bits and pieces, but also doesn't really show much. I was rather disappointed with Didier Deschamps when he was making his substitutes, and instead of putting in Kingsley Coman, he put in Olivier Giroud.
mm,
Logically, I think I understood because the French were playing a lot of balls into the box as if they did not have any ideas of almost penetrating Spain from the middle. However, that gamble didn't work, and you could have utilized the talent that Kingsley Coman is. But yeah, it
mm.
was it was a sub that was made out of desperation, I felt. And even with a lot of the subs that France made, they really did not change the game because all Spain had to do in the second half was really knock the ball about and frustrate the French, but at the same time making sure that they shut shop and don't give passage to either Dembele or Kylian Mbappe.
I want to focus on Mbappe here because you cannot. He's the biggest name in world football right now. Is supposed to be part of this new generation of superstars that are going to be lighting up the game for the next few years to come. How much do you think his move to Real Madrid impacted his performance in this tournament? Did he have his eyes at the Santiago Bernabeu already? Was he not present because of the fact that he's going to be moving to one of the top clubs in Europe? Expectations are big, and he was just not in the right headspace because we've seen in previous tournaments settled at PSG doing the business. Doesn't matter who was coming in as coach or some of the players that were surrounding him. He was in a familiar environment, and he was the Kylian Mbappe that we knew and loved, and that kid that played with a smile, coming out of Monaco. But in this one, he just seemed a bit lost. He wasn't present, man. Even the passion, it was not there. Those runs that he used to make, taking on players and playing with the confidence and the arrogance that you used to see Kylian Mbappe playing with, just not there. Real Madrid, was it a factor in his play coming into the Euros this year?
I don't think it was. And looking at, there is somewhat of a trend, and the trend for me, I feel, comes from, there is a lot of football that the players are playing. If we are being fair, there's competition after competition after competition, and
Aye, Len. Aye.
no,
No, no, no, I disagree.
let
I
let
disagree.
me let me elaborate. Let me elaborate.
Sure, sure.
You've got the likes of your Hurricane not shooting sharp. Jude Bellingham not shooting sharp. Them coming into this tournament, and you look at the teams that lit up this tournament, are those teams that really did not go into further in, like, let me put it, yeah, it's teams or countries that don't have teams that participate and go further into, like, your UEFA Champions Leagues and such
Mm,
and such and such. Hence your Turkey, hence your Georgia, Austria to a degree, Switzerland as well. Those leagues don't have teams that make it to the quarters or the semis of the Champions League. Whereas if you look at the Premier League, if you look at the French league, if you look at La Liga, the teams from those, and the Bundesliga as well, teams from those countries actually go on further in things like the Champions League. There's travel that's involved. So we look at it, Ronaldo, yes, he's playing in Saudi Arabia, and it's not necessarily a league that's rated at the
mm.
level of a Bundesliga or a Premier League. But Ronaldo did not really show up. Kevin De Bruyne never showed up. Kylian Mbappe never showed up. Harry Kane never showed up. Bukayo Saka never showed up. Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden never showed up. So for me, it's that element that I think there is way too much football that is being played, especially by teams that play in these top ranked European teams. And at some point you can drive a car, but if you don't give it rest, or yeah, if you don't give it rest or service it nicely, at some point it's gonna break down. So I
Uh,
think a lot of the legs, a lot of the legs from the top superstars, really, I feel, are coming off, and it's because of way too much football that is being played.
I disagree. I feel like these guys are professionals. They've seen the schedule when the season would have began. That I play for Bayern Munich, probably semifinals of the Champions League, and also there's European continental football that we're going to be playing after that's wrapped up. So I'm sure they would have been managed nicely, man. These guys work with physios and all kinds of professionals. But you see it that way. I want to focus on Lamine Yamal. I mean, at 16, as a Buccaneer myself, reminiscent of Relebohile Mofokeng here in South Africa. But is he introducing himself as the next big name in world football? A lot has been said, about Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe himself. Well, he's proven it. He's won the World Cup and, all kinds of accolades with the French team and PSG. But is Yamal right now the next big thing in world football and one to look out for that could carry the game for the next 20, 25 years? I mean, he's only, what, 16, going to be 17 on Saturday by the time he plays the final. Is he the next big name? I think for the longest time, the world has been looking for the next big name. After Messi and Cristiano, the bar is just too high. And, we've been calling names for such a long time, but they haven't really reached that level. Looking at Lamine Yamal, what do you make of him?
Uh, the young man is talented. Like his spirit, like his bravery. I mean, he's shown that he's not where he is by chance. And had he not showed signs that he's got the potential of being the next big thing, and this was with Barcelona this past season, playing against big teams, playing in El Clasicos, at age 16. It's essentially the youngest person to have done that, being chosen for the Spanish national team. There's a running joke on social media every time Spain is playing at 9 o'clock, and people are saying the game must finish in 90 minutes because he needs to go join a Zoom class for homework.
Way
You
past
know,
his bedtime.
yes. But he's talented. He knows what he wants to do. He's lit up here at the Euros as well to announce or to reintroduce himself to the world. He just needs to be managed properly. not necessarily. If he stays at Barcelona and he's under a good manager, because Barcelona, obviously, we know parted with Xavi.
Mm,
Um, the former Bayern Munich coach, just forgot his name now, is the one who came through to take over. If he's managed properly and if he's given the platform to express himself, the same way that a Lionel Messi at age 19, I think it was, or age 18, somewhere there, was given the platform to express himself and play the football that he knows how to play, then I think we are about to unleash another gem, possibly even being better on display than what we've seen from a Kylian Mbappe.
mm,
However, the mismanagement of the kid is most likely what might be his undoing.
mm,
Luckily, in Spain, unlike in England, for instance, you don't have the media that will hound a superstar player and almost bring them down, like the English media are doing now with Jude Bellingham, if we're being fair.
mm,
So with the young man, if he is protected, which was the case with Lionel Messi. If the young man is protected, then I think he's gonna go far. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, then unfortunately we might just see him for a couple of years, and come the next World Cup where we need to see him on the biggest stage of world football, then he might not be the kid who lit up Spain the same way that he did yesterday. And I really hope he shows up in the final and has another man of the match performance, so that that also helps build his confidence
mm,
going into club football and announcing himself really and telling the coach at Barcelona that I'm not a flesh in the pan, I'm the real deal, and because the king left, I'm ready to take the crown here at Barca.
Hansi Flick, the new Barcelona coach there that you're mentioning. And, for me, it's just not seeing another case of Ansu Fati. I think, for the longest time, we thought he's going to be the next big thing after Messi left Barcelona. He lit up Spain in a few instances, but ultimately, he kind of faded, and that was really, really sad to watch. But you mentioned English media. Well, England are playing today. They're playing against the Netherlands. Just lastly, what do you make of them? Another, team which has all the big names, looks to have, all of the right, people for the right positions. But yeah, lukewarm, not really, bursting into flames like we expected them to. The Netherlands, they seem to be the dark horses of every single competition that they've played. They fell off the hurdles numerous times. What do you make of this game, England versus the Netherlands? All right, we seem to have lost Lenn Moleko there, but we had run out of time. But I think, yeah, we're going to wrap it up there, unfortunately. But yeah, it's going to be another interesting game. England going to be playing the Netherlands in the second semi-final taking place tonight. It's going to be an interesting one watching Jude Bellingham and the star-studded three Lions team who are going to be playing in that tournament, and the Netherlands, the dark horses of the tournament. I think dark horses of every tournament that they play, because they show signs that they might come through and light up the tournament, potentially win it, but that has not been the case. But yeah, I think we can safely say the Euros have started, even though there's 3 games left, or 2 games left, 3 games if you count the third place position game. But yeah, they haven't been really as interesting as maybe an AFCON was. But I think right now we're starting to see signs of what could be an interesting back end of the conversation. We have come to the end of the show. It's been a really interesting one. Thank you so much for giving us your time. From myself, Salado Makwidir, and the rest of the team, it's goodbye. We'll see you again tomorrow for the Thursday edition of News and Views. Assalamu alaikum.